Elevate TV, advancing kingdom lifestyle.
Good morning, this is Elevate Television Morning Digest Wednesday edition. My name is Muiruri and we are back to opportunities. This is our Wednesday thing that we always look into opportunities. But before we start, let's go to Facebook and YouTube. I want you to get the link. It's already out. Please send it to all your contacts, send it to all your friends. Let everybody know that we are live. Let everybody know that we are live. Yep, there we are. Mine is ready. The link is up. It's Wednesday Morning Digest, and send it to your friends. And above all things, you need to like the page. Please do that, because that way we can be able to always alert you when something good is out here. When we are doing when we have any premiere, when we have any good thing, you need to be the first to know. So like the page on Facebook, like the page on YouTube, and you shall be blessed. Let me use that word today. And as we begin, I have a great guest, but today, imagine, we are not looking for opportunities out there. We are looking for opportunities where you are. You know, somebody said something. I'm talking to you, my guest, because you're about to introduce yourself. Said everybody's complaining about high cost of living, but nobody's telling us how can you maneuver around it. You know, what are the opportunities in that high cost of living? What are there opportunities? Yes, there are still opportunities. So I want you to introduce yourself, because today you'll be one of our key people to tell us how to venture inside. Look at that camera.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Peter Muya. Some people call me modern elder. Mm-hmm. I will explain what that means. So I'm born again. I love the Lord, and I consider myself a marketplace Christian. So I believe God has put me in the marketplace to use my time, my talent, my treasures to write a testimony to the world. And so I'm here to briefly share my experiences, and also to learn and listen in to anyone who may have something to just follow up with me. And hopefully we can all get blessed as we look at how we use our gifts, how we look at what God has given us, to be able to be a blessing to others.
Wow. Yeah. Mr. Peter, you read my mind. I wanted to begin with that one, modern elder. It was a thing that struck me first. Modern elder. I tried to think about it. I said, I will ask this thing. What's a modern elder? Maybe you need to tell us how you got a modern elder. Is it a new gift?
So, modern elder is an interesting concept. I think traditionally, when we've grown up, there's this Kiswahili proverb that says, kwenye kuna wazee hakuharibiki neno. So the concept of the wazee there, I think translated in English means elders.
Elder, yes.
So we had this council of elders who then had a particular office that would resolve. They like the go-to place for escalation. Yeah. And generally, traditionally, that's how that office was. And you had to be of a particular age, of a particular stature and nature for you to qualify to occupy that office. Not everyone who was old qualified to be an elder. And so, looking at my life and looking at where I am now, because on one hand I'm not young, but on the other hand I'm not old either. Yeah, I mean it's it's relative. It's how you want to look at it.
Yes, it will depend on your mindset.
Yes. So I do consider myself being in a place where, we are in a modernized world, highly connected, digitized, where the lines between generations are kind of blurry.
Yes.
You find sometimes I work with, bosses or leaders who are younger than me, and they need my guidance in some areas because they have not reached a level in life to understand or to kind of crystallize certain wisdom to be able to make certain decisions, maybe decisions that affect people. So they would look at me as much as I report to them. They would look up to me for certain guidance. So I would consider myself in that context a modern elder.
A modern elder.
Yeah. So one who is open to learning.
Yes.
Number two, who is also open to giving wisdom based on the how far I have gone through life.
Peter, you're one of those bold people who can say, I can give wisdom. There are very many people who don't believe they can give wisdom.
Yeah.
Experience has shown me that everything you go through in life, or you study, or you learn, or you encounter, should give you a learning, and is not for you. It's for somebody else. Yeah. And so I really appreciate that, and thank you. You said you're also married, so a big up to your wife and children.
Yeah, absolutely. Been married for, in the next less than 2 weeks from now, be 21 years.
Hey, yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
All right, that's interesting to know. Now, we are dealing with the matter of gifts, gifts, and this is an area that really, I know sometimes looks like it's very ventured into, but then it's also very vague, because when I was growing up, people would tell me, you are gifted, but nobody would point to me, this is the gift. Somebody would say, you are very gifted, but nobody points it out and say, no, this area, or somebody would take that, guide me and tell me, brother, if you go this way with this thing, it will come here, right? So, gifts and people, and the opportunities that lie within. I want us to speak into it. I want you to speak into it and, look at the way people have, because nobody is empty. Nobody is empty. Nobody should tell you they are empty. Somebody has something, and the challenge, I believe, is the comparison. I think Muya's is more pronounced than mine, So speak into it, and I want you to speak even as an encouragement to someone, because we want to do that today.
Okay. So one of the things I try to do is tell stories.
Yes.
So that then I can speak to the gifts.
Truly an elder.
I think that kind of puts it into perspective, because we can talk about gifts from a theoretical perspective and exposition perspective, and that has its place. But I think what resonates more to people is how you relate the theory with your experiences.
The realities.
Yeah. Yes. So if I may, I consider myself blessed in one way or the other. There are things that others can do better than I can, and therefore I wouldn't, venture. Like, for example, you told me you do cables. You are passionate about, cables, and if you are left in a room full of cables, you are at home.
I'm at home.
Yeah, I probably will be lost in that space. But growing up, this kind of person who was very conceptual. I would think of things, I would draw. So not necessarily an artist in the sense of fine art and all that, but kind of a structural person, looking at, how things, structurally correlate. So buildings, cars, the car parts, how they connect. So that kind of interested me. I started doing that. So when I went to high school, I took up a course. I don't think they offer it today. There were technical courses. There was metalwork, woodwork, I don't know all those. So I took technical drawing. We called it drawing and design.
In those days, there used to be technical schools.
Yes. Yeah. So in my high school, I took that as as one of my as my technical subject, and I took it all the way. I didn't drop it. Okay. So it was part of my examinable in the KCSE, and because of that, I had this desire to become an architect.
Wow.
Yeah. It exposed me to structural drawing, looking at things in different perspectives, elevations, that kind of language. And so when the results came out, of course, my my qualifications did not quite meet the requirement for admission to a Bachelor of Architecture, course. And the interesting thing about me is that in those days I put all my eggs in one basket, metaphorically, in the sense that all the options I chose were architecture related. So option 1, 2, 3, they were all, so really, if you miss one, then it's like you are, even the others, you are unlikely to be considered. So I was thrown into whatever they thought, would be suitable. So I went to do a degree in art, or Bachelor of Arts.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had to, of course, then rewire my mind, think, so how do I reconnect with my passion of architecture? And so it seems like a distant past, or something that is not going to be.
Yeah.
And so when while at the university, still trying to figure out how does this lead to what I'm passionate about, because I would sit in those classes, do psychology, sociology, and all those things, political science. They were all a bag of me, especially in the first year. You do everything, then you specialize going into second and third year. And so when I transitioned to my, I think, second year, I then specialized into business management.
Okay.
Yeah. Still way off my my choice of architecture. But anyway, I graduated. But while I'm there, while I'm doing this business management and arts and psychology and sociology, I interacted with computer books. Yeah. So we had a huge library that was well stocked with very good books. So I went in, and we were not doing, or we were not required to do any computers. Well, there was a bit of it in our third and fourth year undergraduate, but it was very minimal. But I went deep. I got excited when I started reading books, and I'm seeing drawings of flow charts and all that. I got encouraged, and then started becoming curious, reading more. And finally I graduated, and I transitioned out into the world of looking for something to do.
It used to be called out there.
Out there, yes. And so I'm still asking myself questions. So I'm out here, I have a degree in business management. What do I do? Or what kind of work or opportunity should I look for? Yeah, definitely I had no desire to practice as an accountant. So my classmates, were all, or most of them were wired or had already put themselves on that path of accounting and the like. And they even did additional courses on that. So I was still at that valley of decision. But you see, time doesn't wait for you. People are moving on. So while I'm there, I got into a small project with my cousin. So we got to develop some software for someone. Yeah, I had developed skills of software development while at the university.
Wow.
I used to write code during my long breaks. Yeah, so I had access to a computer, so I would write some code, teach myself how to. So I got into that, project, and for 6 months I did that. And then an opportunity came with one of the telecoms company, and they were looking for someone to manage their financial systems. Yeah, and I applied. I didn't have training formal in ICT. I didn't have software engineering in terms of qualification background. But I went for the interview.
Taught yourself.
I went for the interview.
All right.
They invited me for the interview. I was surprised. I didn't even think they would consider me to that level. So I went there. I sat into the interview. I thought I did well, but I thought I did not have a chance, given the profile and the kind of qualifications they were looking for. Anyway, to cut the story short, they gave me the job after two more interviews after that. And that's how I started my journey in the field of software engineering, which finally translated into what we call enterprise architecture.
Wow.
You know, which is what I practice today.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you still went to architecture.
So somehow in the paths of life and not knowing which direction to take, I found myself still getting back to the practicing of this thing, of description of things and how they relate and their behaviors. And that's what I do today. So that's the thing I do today, advising governments on how to structure their organization to be a digital government.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's amazing. Your story is amazing. You know, I read through your profile and I said, wow, this man. And so basically your passion later came in what you are doing. So let me ask you, and maybe this could help someone, the journey of self-discovery. How would you explain it for yourself?
So for me, it was quite turbulent. I was well, I do appreciate the work that, you know, today we have a more structured way or opportunities for people to be helped in terms of self-discovery.
Yes,
I mean, today we have books, we have people, we have master classes, we have places where people can actually, you know, be guided. And those days we didn't have. I mean, I finished high school, I got my results, I got an admission, and you can tell I was on the verge of depression. Because you're thinking, okay, where is architecture, you know, so, and you have no desire, you don't even to go to the university. Yeah, but you've got to pick yourself up and do what you need to do. I mean, so it was, as you know, I was in that valley of decision. So what happens? And even as you're going through, you know, your undergraduate course, it's a very, you are going through the motion, you are like a zombie. So I'm in that space. Thankfully, when I was exiting high school, I was not born again. When I joined the university in my first year, first semester, I got born again.
Wow.
But I was still in that state of not knowing which direction this wind is blowing of in terms of career and the direction I wanted to take in life. But having met the Lord, I incorporated God in my decisions, you know, through prayer, through reflection, and trying to understand which direction is God taking me through this path that He has chosen. Now, one thing I want to say is that when I was in high school, I think I had this looking back. There was a sense of pride, you know, a certain level of pride that I had. So, like, I remember the reason why I chose all the options in one field. I said, there is no way I can be a teacher. And I do not have anything against teachers.
Yes.
For some reason, I didn't like it. And I talked ill about it, if I may. And it's like, there's no way. And interestingly, today I teach.
You teach.
Yeah, but at that point in time, I had this arrogance and beating of the chest and there is no way. And shockingly, interestingly, that's the course I was admitted for before I went and changed into Bachelor of Arts. Wow. So God has a way of humbling us.
I tell you.
Yeah. So the journey of self-discovery was quite, it was turbulent. But it was, let me say it was God guided, because it was, I wouldn't say I have fully discovered everything. That's why I call myself modern elder. Even today I'm curious to know what else is God opening up.
You need to empty
what
yourself.
Are the chapters that have never been opened that I need to go to? So while in the field of work, I also discovered I can write. I mean, I was never the best writer in school. In high school, I was, when you wrote those inches of compositions, mine were not the ones that teachers would pick and say, this is, the standout.
You start looking down.
I would say I was an okay or average writer. But through life, I started consolidating my life experiences. So I grew up in a multicultural environment. I grew up in Luo Nyanza. Yeah, that's where I grew most of my up to my late teen.
Now it makes sense now. It makes sense.
So that's where I grew up. So our locality was quite a place. So we had different cultures in that place. So it was a melting pot of different cultures. And it was very
that helps you,
interesting.
by the way.
Sorry?
It helps you a lot.
It
because
does.
I grew up in the same.
Okay.
It helps you to accept people
Yeah.
and know that you can accept anyone. You know?
Yeah.
And it's very hard for you to have a tribal mindset.
That's true.
Very hard.
Yeah.
Because for me, I don't find it. I grew up with all kinds of people. So I think that growing is interesting. Now you've mentioned something that is, just think. My mind is thinking about it. The turbulence, that turbulent discovery. If yours was turbulent, then what do you think about it today? Do we need a safe net where we can have help people at that place where that transition period, and how important do you think that would be?
I think it's important. I don't think the turbulence has gone away. Probably it has just taken a different form. At that time, we didn't have social media.
Yes, it's true.
So a lot was, in a way, hidden to us in terms of the wider world. So like in our context, your interaction with the outside world there would probably be the print or electronic media.
Yes.
Yeah. And it was very limited. So things of internet were probably coming, and even then we didn't have the phones we had at that time. The first phones that came did not even have data. They were just call and SMS, and they were huge phones. They were not even smartphones.
I only came to see one time.
Yeah, I remember my first phone was a big Motorola, which we used to call the walkie-talkie. Yeah, so purely for receiving calls or making calls and sending SMSs. So really that social media world, that aspect of real time and 24/7 connection, knowing what's going on, it was kindly hidden to us. So unless you hear from someone who met someone 3 days ago or 2 weeks ago or a month ago, then they give you information about how they are doing. So when you consider that world and the world today, we are completely different.
Oh yes.
So today somebody finishes high school, for example, and they are out there, then they are already friends with their former high school mates. On social media.
Yes.
So they will see their lives. This guy, he's gotten, scholarship. They are moving abroad. He's still mark timing or trying to figure out which direction to go. That creates pressure on them. They say, all my friends are, because they are seeing. Yeah, we didn't have that real-time view of how our peers were faring.
Actually,
so in a way, we were kind of shielded. Yeah, that's why I'm saying the turbulence will take a different form. And I think the aspect of working or creating that safety net for transition, I think it's still relevant, it's important. What I see now is that there are deliberate efforts in different quarters to try and manage that.
Yes.
Yeah, through, like coaching programs or this holiday program that bring in to teach people, life skills, to teach them to discover something they do have that they can start, using. So I think that safety net is still important. We still need to journey with these people because they have to make decisions about their own lives and what they need to do.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So I think that when you talked about the turbulence, I said, what about the people today? That, and we are having that a lot because some of them, and because of the fastness of life, you discover somebody has spent 4 years in the house, 3 years in the house, thinking through with their degree, and there is maybe it's a degree they didn't want also like you, and so you find the guys are out there, and. I want to just, your life seems to be very interesting. When you began, I want it to be very practical. You began writing. You're also an athlete here.
Yes.
You're also an athlete and other things. When you began writing, what was the passion behind it? Because you see some people, I think the money passion is what makes people not do some things. They think about the money first before the passion first. So what was your mindset at that time?
So when I left my locality and went to, for example, high school and university, these are places where you meet people from different cultures.
Yes.
And so I remember I would converse with people from the people who would speak Dholuo, for example, we would converse in that language. And, people will find that fascinating, and they would ask me, how do you know that? And, I would say, I live there. And so when the experiences that I went through living in that place for, up to my late teen, they were both funny. They also made me as a person, and they were quite fulfilling. And so I would recount some of those things to my friends, in the university, in the place of work. I would talk about them, and people would find them extremely hilarious. And so I started writing some of the experiences, on my, just like that, I started, writing the experiences, what are the things I went through. And somehow it became a story which I presented to a publisher. And the first publisher reviewed it. They gave me feedback, and it was not very good feedback. So they told me, yes, you have a story, but the way you've crafted it, it looks like an engineering book. In fact, even the title that you've given it,
the engineer was talking.
It was it was very engineering oriented. So that you need to relook at how you want to organize this. And it was useful feedback. I thought I had a good story. I thought I had a good book, but I didn't expect, that level of feedback. But I took it in stride. I went down, relooked at the story, reorganized it, in a different way, gave it a different title, and then, re-engaged again a publisher, and they reviewed, and they wrote to me and said, when do we publish this book? This is a fantastic read. So that was my first book, which was launched in 2008.
Wow. Yeah. How many books do you have under your feathers?
I have written 6.
Wow.
I'm in the process of writing a 7th.
Wow.
So the 7th one is about my experiences as a runner.
So that is true. So the saying is true.
Yeah.
When you write the first one, the others just come.
Yes.
Interesting, Yeah. I tell you, I met a young girl. She's probably 10, 11. She's writing a book, and she's been putting, and she has done quite some. So I told her I'll connect her with a publisher, so the publisher can give her feedback like you.
Yeah,
It's amazing. So I want you to think. We want to go for a break, and just address someone. Maybe they are going through that moment of self-discovery, and address them from your experience. A modern elder.
So to anyone who is in that process of trying to discover, who they are or what they have, you don't have to do this alone, and you don't have to. I think I closed in that moment when I didn't know which direction to take, especially in post-high school before university. I was in that state, and I really struggled. So you don't have to struggle alone. Like I said, there are people you can reach out to. There are professionals you can reach out to who can help guide you. Because the thing is, I think you could be too harsh on yourself by thinking you failed. And maybe the missing link is that somebody else might spot something you are not seeing properly because you are consumed by the failure rather than the opportunity.
Wow.
So don't give up. Reach out for help, and I believe you'll find the path that God has for you.
Peter, before we go for a break, even if we go for a break, we'll pick it up. Were there expectations from your parents when you're going to college? Like every other one. Now our son is going to the university.
Yeah.
Now, were there expectations? And now here you have passion.
Yeah.
Here there are expectations, and you are in the turbulence.
If there were, I didn't spot them, or they were not maybe elevated to the level that they became pressure. I think this kind of person who expects a lot from myself.
Okay.
So the pressure was mostly from myself. In fact, I think those around me were wondering, what's wrong with you? You are the first person in this family to go to the university. You look depressed, yet you should be celebrating. So, but I had this very high expectation. So it was that deficit of this is what I expected, but this is what I got, and that affected me.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you never had a pressure of parental or societal?
No, not necessarily.
People
Not
saying,
necessarily.
"Our boy must become a doctor." Our boy must become a doctor. You know that challenge, my friend.
Yeah, I know it's there,
And then you come out of campus and you can't get a job, and they are looking at you. Hiyo pesa yote.
Yeah.
Hiyo pesa yote.
Yeah.
They get the pressure, and I think it was societal in the pressure, because like for me, I had it. They wanted this, and you don't have that, and the money has been spent on this.
Yeah.
And I think people go through that, and
Yeah.
so the place of passion is relegated, because and I think you were speaking to it, because sometimes some parents want to live through their children.
That's
because
true.
I never achieved this, because I really wanted to be this, I never achieved this, so I educate this guy to become this, and so the pressure is you want to see that. As we go for a break, I had a friend who went through that. It was so bad. The father was a dentist, and so he really wanted to go higher in a dental surgery, and so educated the person, took through medical school, and it was those days of riots. Medical school, 6 years. So when the graduation was over, this individual in campus used to take photos like crazy. He had a camera, and the guy was a camera guy, and the photos were good. Everybody had a photo by that guy. So when the dad came and the graduation was over, he handed the certificates. This is what you wanted? I want to do photography. And the museum was angry for years. Angry for years.
Yeah.
But this individual has gone to become one of the most celebrated photographers from Kenya in Africa, and actually he's actually what you call a magazine photographer in South Africa. He's very big, and he's a Kenyan guy.
Amazing.
So you find, he dared, and today is when the father says, wow, wow, he says, wow, this is what you are doing, do it, kabisa.
Yeah.
But, the pressure of becoming a dental surgeon, and I think to me that stands out as a key example that you can allow somebody to pursue passion and risk it.
Yeah.
And invest in it. We're going to go for a break.
Okay.
And as we go for a break, if you want Peter to answer anything from you, please post it up and we shall pick it up. See you after the break.
There's no nation, no town, no city without fathers.
Being a Holy Spirit driven church is New Testament.
The quality of the message, it was based in Acts chapter 2.
And I took my Bible and I went from street to street. Is anybody dead here?
We never met those miracles a reason to appeal for money or to be known. No.
Tracing the Mantles is a program whose core is to identify mantle carriers from our fathers.
That Catholic woman stood and he was sliding everywhere. He said, oh yes, now this is the black Catholic woman.
But these are not only mantles, but spiritual authorities that have paid the cost, stood the test of time,
you are given 6 hours to leave the country,
and made lots of sacrifices for the gospel of Jesus Christ.
Many of us invested in the school, college, university ministry.
But these are not only mantles, but spiritual authorities.
One of the things that bring revival in this country is the power of the Holy Spirit.
The presence of God has been.
Catch Tracing the Mantles every Sunday from 8:30, hosted by Pastor Zunda Juma, only on Elevate TV.
Well, welcome back. We are talking about the opportunity in our gift, and Peter.
Yes.
We were talking about the place of pressure, parental pressure.
Yes.
Maybe you can speak into it a bit, and just not even parental. Sometimes it's not even parental. Yours was personal.
Yes.
And also society.
Yep.
Now that he went to campus, so what? The pressure. So maybe you can speak into it so that some people can feel really, I don't have to live with this pressure. I need to pursue what I need to pursue.
Yeah, and so if I think, like I said earlier, I had set this high standard for myself. And I still do. I mean, I still do set very high standard for myself. And sometimes I come close, sometimes I meet them, sometimes I don't. And it doesn't mean that I have reached a level where, now if I don't meet them, that I move on and I accept and move on. Of course, I feel some level of disappointment, and I'll speak to one instance there. But yes, pressure is there, and we either from within or from around you. There are expectations. I mean, the moment we are visible and the moment we declare something or the moment we endeavor into something, there is pressure. The link I've just shared now, there is some little pressure on me here and there, because I know people are watching and they know they are following and they want to hear. So I'm saying, I think I'll try and do a good job so that, So
leave them, don't worry about them.
Essentially, what I'm saying is that there is pressure everywhere.
There is pressure.
Yeah, and we've got to manage, I think, number one, expectations, especially from ourselves.
Yes.
What do we expect from ourselves? Yeah, what is it that we want to achieve? And potentially, what are the things that would make that not happen? And, the scenarios, if it were not to happen, what will happen? Yeah, because generally we don't think about that. And that's why the pressure becomes massive. I didn't quite get here. Yeah, and therefore I'm feeling like the world has stopped. Yeah. There is a Kiswahili proverb that says, kuvunjika kwa mwiko sio mwisho wa upishi. If you think of the story of David in the Bible, and that features a lot in my 7th book, which I call the battle-hardened contender. So the story, the centrality of the book is around the story of David. So David did not wake up in the morning when he went to face Goliath. He didn't wake up planning to go and fight Goliath. In his mind, he did not tell the village or the people, by there, guys, I'm going to fight Goliath today. No. His mission was delivery. He was an Uber guy.
Uber Eats.
He was an Uber person. He was carrying food for his brothers and to find out how they are doing. Then when he got there, he realized the situation was bad. And picking on his skills as a warrior, as a shepherd, he thought, well, why not deal with the situation the way I have dealt with it out there? And lo and behold, God used him to then defeat the enemy. Yeah. So his expectations were very moderate, I think, when he was going to battle. In fact, his chances of winning from a normal playing field were near to zero.
Or zero, actually.
Yeah.
There was zero.
Yeah, his chances of winning. So assuming he lost, let's say he was beaten by Goliath, he was killed or whatever it is, people would have mourned, but they would not have been disappointed. Assuming he didn't die or he lived to tell the story, they would not have been disappointed that he lost.
Yes.
Because they assumed anyway, you are not matched to this enemy.
Yes.
Yeah. That's the reality. That's how we are. So when your chances of winning and your ability to deliver are minimal, the expectations are also reduced.
They are reduced.
People tend to look at it from the perspective, okay, I don't think you are quite there. But then if you go against the odds and actually win, then the win becomes very celebrated. Yeah. Obama became a president,
I tell you,
of the US. Nobody expected it. Yeah, against the odds. Against the odds. We have young or newcomers in the current parliament.
Yes.
Yeah. Some people who didn't even have money or who didn't even campaign properly. But against the odds, they came in. So their chances of winning were minimal. But then we have veterans who lost.
Yes. Oh.
These guys have resources, they have money, they have all the things they need, they have all the things, they have actually the opportunity. Their chances of winning were like 90 or whatever percent, but they lost. You can imagine the disappointment and the pressure.
Yes.
And the expectation from society. So I think we are in these two situations. Yeah.
I like the way you look at things. No wonder you're an architect. These two situations, they also dire.
Yeah.
I tell you.
Yeah, so we are in these two situations where pressure comes to us, especially where people think our chances of succeeding are so high, and they believe we have the ability, and we have the ability to actually do that.
Wow.
But sometimes we may have the ability, we may have the opportunity, or rather the chances of winning, but we don't have the passion. Well, that's not what we want to do. So it's like it's been thrown to us. Yeah, like the story you mentioned of this young man who was a dentist and he also want to do photography. Yeah.
And I mean, let me put you again into the same two situations.
Yes.
Education and passion. There are people who say they would rather follow the passion, and they have a point. But then there are people who say that passion need to be educated.
Yeah.
Okay, they also have their point.
Yeah.
And so sometimes you find very gifted people. And case in point is we used to have sportsmen who are very gifted. They would run and run and run and run, but they never went to school.
Yeah.
We would have soccer players who would run, until now. A time came when there was a shift that yes, you have you have a gift, yes, but then let's take you to school so that you also have papers that can help you after you stop playing. I want you to speak into that kind of a person who is still feeling, I don't need, even passion needs to be educated because it needs to be sharpened. Yeah, please speak into it because of your passion, now where you are.
Yeah, so I think I would more lean towards this second school of thought, or that passion needs to be educated.
It needs to be educated.
Yeah, and even that education needs to be structured.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not just education anyhow. Again, going back to the story of David. So David here, against all odds, succeeds where nobody expected him to succeed. Yeah, he brings down Goliath and that opposition that was standing before Israel, the army of Israel. But going further, David did not just continue on his passion as a warrior. Yeah, he announced himself that he has warrior-like abilities by winning a battle that he had no chance of winning. Yeah. But when the women later on in the Bible start singing that Saul has killed his thousands, but David has killed his tens of thousands, David was killing the tens of thousands because he had trained as a soldier. So he had nurtured the passion of defending his country by developing or sharpening his skill as a warrior. He was no longer depending on those old skills of swinging a sling and all that, killing the lion and the bear. Now he had to learn how to use a sword properly. Yeah, and even in that, God was with him. Yeah, so it doesn't mean that because you are going to school that you are abandoning your
So you will be swinging slings everywhere you went.
Yeah, I can tell you I was passionate. I wanted to be an architect. Yeah. But for the last like 10, 15 years, I've been to school. I've been trained or sharpening myself as an enterprise architect. I have attended certifications. Even last year I was writing exams.
Wow.
Just to pick the next certification to continue sharpening my skills. The Bible says that, you know, fan up the flames that are in you, you know, sharpen those gifts, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, so you have them, yeah, but you're fanning them. So how do you fan them? Yeah. Wow. You've got to find the right places to learn so that you continue sharpening that.
There's a common word being used nowadays. It's not recent, but it's come to our vocabulary a lot. Passion for profit. Turning passion into profit. I don't know how much you know about it. Because at the end of the day, many people will say, why should I pursue a passion that is not going to feed me? You know, it's not going to do that. But you see, I think that to me is a wrong mentality and a wrong perspective. But there are people who now have come up and they're able now to help you to turn that passion. Yes, it's good. The passion is good. You're passionate about it. A few weeks ago, a lady was seated there. She's an artist, a very interesting artist. And she went to campus and she had to do agrochem.
Okay.
Agronomy. She's an agronomist. So, but she's a very serious painter. The paintings she had put here, you would not believe she's the one. And she would tell me, no, me I don't have a life like every other person. Me, when I get money, I run to the paint shop to look for paints because I want to do something.
Yep.
I thought, do you sell your paintings? No, me, I just like seeing paintings. I told her, you need someone who can help you turn that passion into something because the paintings are super. They are amazing. But then you see now for her, she just wants to paint the next picture. She wants to paint the next image. But where does passion come to feed someone?
Yeah, interesting. Again, going back to stories. I was watching a documentary on Netflix about, I follow sports quite a bit and not just athletics alone. So there is this former football player called David Beckham. So there's a documentary about him on Netflix. And so David Beckham grew up being, drilled by his father to play for Manchester United.
Oh my.
His father was a lifelong Manchester United fan. So even when he was 7, he would wear red jerseys of Manchester United in the backyard playing soccer. And David Beckham was coached by his father.
Wow.
Yeah. So he was coached how to take free kicks. And I think if you are familiar with the storyline of David Beckham as a player, he was one of the best free kick takers in his generation.
Oh, wow.
And so his story went like that. He, played for some of the biggest football clubs in the world. And he traveled the world. He was at one point in Madrid, then he moved to Paris. He was in Italy at some point. He went to the US, and finally he retired. Now, upon his retirement, or while he was still playing, he invested. So he used quite a bit of money, and he started investing that money. So he would invest, in fashion. He was a high spender at one point, but he had to find a way of managing the money that he was making at the time. Because remember, yes, his passion, his talent had a finite time. He couldn't, like now he doesn't play football. Yes. So definitely football does not feed him today. Yeah, the footballing gift he has doesn't feed him today, but the investments he made at the time, while he was in his footballing life, are feeding him today. Yeah, so what happened is that he invested in a football club in the US.
Wow.
Yeah. So he bought the club basically, and now he's like the owner of a football club in the US to try and promote soccer in the United States. Yeah. Some of the biggest football players, in their prime now actually are playing there, like Lionel Messi. He's playing for Inter Miami. Yeah, which is owned by David Beckham.
Wow.
Yeah, so if David Beckham can afford to pay the salary of somebody like a superstar like Lionel Messi, then this guy has money.
Yes,
I mean, he's invested his time well. So yes, there is passion, and you can translate that into something that feeds you. Because at the end of the day, you've got to eat, you've got to live. And the way I would see it is that I think life is interconnected.
Yes.
So you cannot isolate passion alone and think that that's the line. So you find people diversify, because again, depending on what the passion is, it has a shelf life. Yeah, you cannot be a soldier forever. You could be a painter for a while. You could be a singer for a very long time, like some of these singers. You could be a poet for a long time. I'm also a poet, by the way. I write poems. Yeah.
You should end with a poem. You will end with a poem.
Yeah. So yes, you need to find a way to make that talent, that passion, whatever it is, work for you, so that you are not poor. You are not a gifted poor man or poor person.
But we have that a lot in Africa.
Yeah.
And I think what I'm hearing you say is being able to bring passion and practicability together, because it's not rare to see our runners, especially people who have won gold, millions of shillings. They are picking tea. And I saw one of the stories like that. A lady who used to run for millions is picking tea now. What happened? It's a long story. Wrong investment, wrong advice, and things like those. And so we need to ask. I think we can't deal with everything. You are a lot of things. Tell me, now that you have been in the ICT, the role of technology in the enhancement of gifts and passions for people. And I have this passion. Okay, let me give you a good example. I don't know if I should mention him. He's one of the cartoonists in the papers. He's my friend. He used to draw a cartoon, and he's done that for many years, and he used to do it with his pen. And actually, he used to do it for publicity. He was not being paid by these media houses until one day, I think they called him and told him he would like to be paying. And so they began to pay him. And it's just a small script, like Handicap. You remember Handicap?
Yes.
So he does one called Belzo. I don't know if you've ever come to see it. So it's called Bella Kilozo. Very good guy, very, 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 very talented guy. That's all he has done. Even in school, teachers would beat him up because he was drawing cartoons. But today, that's what he feeds on. But then along the way, he got into some drawing pads that digital drawing pads, where you could draw, instead of coloring by yourself, you pick the colors, you draw the image, yes.
Yep.
But then the feelings, you are able now to do it quickly. So what would have taken you 3 hours to draw, you are able to do it in an hour or less. And so he does that. And one time he was telling me the power of technology in enhancing, not only just work, but also your gifts. Has it impacted you personally?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, when I look at even what I practice now as a professional, a while back we used to do drawings on pieces of paper.
Yeah, I remember the desk looks like this with.
Yeah, so you have to. So you pencil and I still do that. By the way, I have my pad, which I.
You're called the old dogs.
Yes, I still do that. So
I have a friend who does the same.
When I'm doing deep reflection and thoughts, and I need to solve a particular problem, I first, scribble it, not the full thing, but scribble a bit of it on, just to feel that I'm scribbling something, not because I really want to scribble, but generally just to move away from the screen. So I do that. Then I spend as little time as possible on translating that on the screen. But then those things have evolved. Now we have tools that you can visualize, 3D on screen and do that. But you've got to give it the information for you to give you that view that you need. So definitely technology has accelerated or created efficiency in terms of, and make it more productive. And when we talk of even now things like artificial intelligence, for example, and what we call generative artificial intelligence, Things like Chat GPT, for example. People are using those to write poetry. There is one time I chatted and told, give me a poem, and somehow it gives you something that resembles a poem. And they kind of, those tools are entering in spaces of some form of creativity or giving us some foundational thing that we can work with. So yeah, I mean, there is a place for that. We can't run away from that.
And there's also danger because you see, the way you can bring out your poem, the way it can be, this is a machine. Basically, is a chat. Is actually we can call it a robot for now. It's a robot, doesn't have passion, doesn't have feelings. You just bring out words. Actually, it's an interplay of words, making them rhyme, look nice. But you see, when you write it from your heart, it's like a song, because right now there are people who are getting songs also the same way, the artificial intelligence. Of course, the beat looks nice, the sounds nice, but then you see, you cannot beat this guy on a guitar. You cannot beat that guy because one, his song is not a beat. His song is out of him, something coming out of somebody. And so it's very key that for me, I find a danger there, because in fact there's a lecturer in campus now. They have also now bought technology where you bring your assignment, they subject it to that, then you get a very big zero, because most of the people are doing assignments on chat. Because chat can be able to, you look very educated, but basically it's not you, it's a chat. And so the role of technology, for me, I find the place of not just enhancement, but also care. A lot of care, because many people, because you see, what you're simply saying is that tomorrow they don't need you, they just need the machine, they just need the software. Because if I've given you an assignment to do me a project, and you go to chat and you write the project, tomorrow I don't need you, I'll just go to chat myself. So I think for me it's a balance. You need to balance it.
I agree with you. It's a balance, and that delicate balance requires us as human beings to have a certain level of curiosity and cognition that goes beyond, what happens, and what I have seen with what, these chat tools give us. Generally, they give us what we want to hear. They give us extremely...
What you want?
Yeah, extremely good. Like now you ask it for an article around... There's one time I said, what are the chances that... randomly, I asked ChatGPT, what are the chances that, let's say, our president and the opposition leader will shake hands? And it gave me a very theoretical story. It looked extremely, like the way a political analyst would give it, but with the right words. Yeah, but when you read between the lines, you find there are certain things that are off. So that exercising of care, or reading between the lines, that's the kind of intelligence we as human beings, the human intelligence, not the artificial one, that we need to read between the lines that these machines are producing. Because as you said, they don't have feelings.
They don't have
feelings. When we talk of songwriting, for example, if you read the Psalms, why are you so downcast, oh my soul? Why are you so disturbed? This is a man self-reflecting. You can tell where they are at. They actually, it's out of the abundance of the heart that they are speaking certain things. So it's not out of the abundance of some microprocessor or some storage somewhere that is speaking that.
Wow. You have to end with a poem, so I'm trying to fight time. I want us to deal with the elephant in the room.
Yes.
Overcoming fear. Because at the end of the day, if I'm going to use my gifts, you have to be a man that is fearless. Of course, doesn't mean you are fearless. You have fears that you have conquered. Did you have to do that? And as you do that, I want you to speak to somebody. Some people just need to hear. I've learned in life, some people just need to hear something from somebody else. And that's it.
So definitely, yes. I really, in my journey through positioning myself in places where I wanted to use my gifts, I had to face some fears. When in the course of employment, as I was in that space of transitioning into now fully becoming an IT architect, my boss, my then boss, called me into a meeting because he realized I was passionate about that. he had it. He had me talking about it in our meeting. So he called me into one meeting that had these consultants who are going to discuss that subject. They wanted to do that project for that organization. And I considered myself like this person in Judges. I'm trying to remember his name. This person who said they are the weakest. Gideon, yes. I considered myself like a Gideon. I'm saying, okay, in that meeting, I have experienced people there from this multinational organization. How do I even fit in that conversation? So I had this anxiety, how do I fit in? Yeah, and that was the beginning of my transition, because they opened a whole world for me.
Wow.
That has made me, that made me practice what I do today. And so, yes, I had to, because my boss was not even in that meeting. I thought he would there to co-chair or facilitate. He said, no, you go and take it over.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was a good boss. He pushed me into my opportunities.
Amen.
And I think ultimately at some point you need that kick to get in there, because the hesitance will not, at some point, will keep you rooted to one spot.
Wow.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, everybody who sits there, I ask them this one question. Because people call later, they say, oh, that guy who you brought there, I would want to talk to them, I would want to... Do you offer mentorship?
Yes, I do. I would say yes and no. Yes, in the sense that...
You're an honest man.
Yes, in the sense that, yeah, I do. I'm accessible to offer mentorship.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, in the sense that I don't have a formalized school that offers mentorship.
Okay.
Yeah, if you get what I mean.
Yes, I understand.
Yeah, but I'm accessible. Anyone wants to talk, we can talk.
Ah,
yeah.
That's great. So you remember we have a poem deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah, make it short, then we shall close this project.
Okay, so I'll share a poem. I'm not the one who wrote this, but it ministers to me. It's written by a pastor called Pastor Isaac Wimberly, and it's called The Word. And this is a poem that reflects on the love of Jesus for us, because it begins there. I mean, we can't have skills, we can't have talent, we can have all these things, but if God is not central to those talents, then really we are chasing after the wind.
Yes, yeah, it's true.
So this is how it goes. So I'll not say the full of it, I'll just pick a few parts. If there are words for him, then I don't have them. You see, my brain has not reached a point where it could form a thought that could adequately describe the greatness of my God. And my lungs have not yet reached the point where they could breathe enough with the agility to breathe out the greatness of his love. And my voice, you see, my voice is so inhibited, restrained by human limits, that it's hard even to send a praise up. See, if there are words for him, then I don't have them. My God, his grace is remarkable. His mercies are innumerable. His strength is impenetrable. He is honorable, accountable. He is unsearchable yet knowable, indescribable yet approachable. He is beyond comprehension, farther than imagination, constant through generation, king of every nation. But if there are words for him, then I don't have them. Thank you.
Wow. I think the next time you'll come and do poems.
I'll be glad.
It's been a pleasure having you.
Asante sana.
I mean, such short notice, and I really, really appreciate it from the depths of my heart. Thank you very much. And also from Elevate. Anytime you feel you want to have another poem, you call me. I'll put you up. I'll make sure these guys film you. Yeah. There's a man, Coach Stephen Muiruri. He says he's born to lead. He tells you, great discussion, guys. Passion and purpose are the master key to a fulfilling life. And I'm sure this gives an is to just say that what you're speaking, I think everybody needs a platform just to bring out something to other people. And I think I want you to give you a parting shot to anyone, a 1 minute shot. Look at that camera.
So don't give up. I think we started by saying about turbulence. I've gone through lots of challenges trying to discover and find where I am. The path is not straight. I don't think it will ever be. If it is, then you are very fortunate to have a straight, which I doubt any one of us does. But in that turbulence, God is there. In that turbulence, purpose lies in there. Yeah. So it's not out there, it's within. There are just certain, cloud that probably, cover it. But with time, it will become clearer. Stick to it. be determined, trust in God, trust the process, and let God, lead the way. And ultimately, God will reward your diligence.
Wonderful. Well said. I cannot add any other word. I just want to say my regards to your family. Tell them thank you for giving you to us.
Asante.
That's all we could get today. This has been Elevate Wednesday edition. Remember, keeping it live. Even in Nyeri, remember in Nyeri we are there when we are coming to do some of this there. And we shall be advancing Kingdom Lifestyle. I've been your host, Moses Muiruri. See you next Wednesday. God bless you.